A referendum to change the constitution is highly unlikely this year. President Uhuru Kenyatta dashed the hopes of holding a plebiscite this year with the gazettement of a team to implement the BBI report and giving it a timeline of 6 months. Now, the committee is expected to submit its advice to the government by the 30th of June 2020. And this blows off demands by the Orange Democratic Movement Party through its Senate Minority Leader, James Orengo, that a referendum be held by July this year before the 2022 campaign's kick-off. The Gazette notice also reveals that the members of the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report remain the same. Now, the terms of reference of the committee, however, change, and they are required to conduct validation of the task force report through consultation with citizens, civil society, faith-based organizations, cultural leaders, the private sector and experts. Also propose administrative policy or statutory constitutional changes that may be necessary for the implementation of the recommendations. Now, the committee is also expected to appoint its chairperson and vice chair from its members, regulate its own procedure within confines of the law and constitution, privilege bipartisan and non-partisan groupings, forums and experts, form technical working groups as well as may be required in the achievement of its terms of reference, and also hold meetings at times and in places that it considers necessary for the proper discharge of its functions. It's also supposed to solicit and receive information from the public, that's written information, and carry out assessments, studies or research to inform its mandate. So that is the final outcome of the appointment of the task force. But of course, the work for them now begins, and we will be highlighting all those different changes that come with it. All right, to other stories now. And is there a calculated plot to force Deputy President William Ruto out of government? Well, his allies seem to believe so. Ruto is battling a sustained political attack from within and outside government, while his election partner, President Uhuru Kenyatta, remains mum. Today, a section of Jubilee and ODM MPs accused the DP of targeting the president in his opposition to the Building Bridges initiative. They say Ruto's meetings across the country suggest that his focus is not on working with the president, but rather on the 2022 campaigns. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Muredi has more.
The country's second-in-command faces one of his toughest times yet, as he soldiers on with his pursuit to occupy the house on the hill. From his juniors in government embarrassing him publicly, to a president that has embraced the opposition and made them enjoy the trappings of power. The latest of his misfortunes was Ruto being allegedly locked out of his official residence in Mombasa on what the Sunday Nation quoted as orders from above. To the Deputy President and his allies, these are just acts that bolster his resolve to be the president come 2022, but they still believe the president, though largely silent, is part of the script.
Hawa watu walituzungusha siku ile wakatupeleka mpaka Hague, lakini hawakuweza kusimamisha mapenzi ya Mungu.
When you look at all these things, the president obviously, the head of state, must be aware.
Those opposed to his 2022 bid believe DP Ruto broke ranks with his boss when he failed to approve the handshake between the president and opposition leader Raila Odinga. So, should Ruto quit or stay to fight from within?
If you start attacking the senior most officers of the government that you are serving, who perceived to be very loyal to the government and to the president, what are you telling Kenyans? You are telling Kenyans you are not part of that government.
He left long time ago. He just lacks the courage to tell Kenyans that I have left. But he has been campaigning since 2017 for his presidential election for 2022.
We should make a deputy or a vice president an appointee of the president. Because now we have a deputy president who is behaving like a hooligan in this country.
That the deputy president is not an appointee of the president. He's an elected deputy president under our constitution. His removal cannot be by witch hunting, by publicly embarrassing him, because then you weaken the presidency.
Despite the icy relations, the DP has not openly disobeyed the president. He still speaks highly of him, but those in Ruto's entourage have heard choice words for the head of state and believe he is the brains behind the persecution the DP is going through now, which is part of the grand scheme to block his 2022 bid.
Sababu tumesema tutaunga mkono William Ruto. Sio favor tunamfanya. In fact, yeye ndiye anatusaidia. Anatukomboa kutoka kwa minyororo ya ukombo.
The BBI meetings which have started across the country seem to be widening the rift even more. The DP believes they are merely a scheme to popularize Raila Odinga and give him a head start for the 2022 campaigns, and so Ruto has chosen to skip the meetings planned countrywide.
Raila Odinga has already replaced Musalia Mudavadi in Western Kenya. Replaced Musalia, replaced Wetangula. Ukienda Eastern, replaced Kalonzo. Na sasa ameanza kuunda coalition nyingine hapo na akina Matiang'i na Waiguru na mzee mwingine huko kwetu anaitwa Kamanda Hana Meno.
No one chased William Ruto or even his allies from the open public meetings in Kisii, which was attended by leaders and Kenyans from all walks of life.
What happened in Kisii last weekend, of course, it's a trend setter. It is what we are supposed to do the entire country, so that we have an open debate in public.
Deputy Ruto is walking a road fate Raila himself had walked as Prime Minister. Those close to President Mwai Kibaki frustrated him with the aim of pushing him out of government. Raila had hoped to succeed Kibaki in the 2013 elections, but was not a favorite of the system.
Waziri mkuu anakuja kwa sherehe kubwa kama na hii ya serikali, PC hakuna. Unaambia PC ameenda Nairobi. Kama Kibaki alikuwa anakuja hapa, PC angeweza kosa kuja kwa hapa. Angekosa. Na angewekewa sana namna hii bila hata choo. Angewekewa. Alafu na nusu kapeti namna hii. Nusu mkeka.
Ruto allies say even though President Kenyatta is quiet, the actions of those close to him, including the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, his Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho, and former Jubilee Vice Chairperson David Murathe, speak loudly and the message is clear. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.